You've been looking at DAWs all afternoon and wondering, yeah, I know, which one, right? Good question. Because there's a lot of options out there in the marketplace, right? So let's check them out. So let's start with the freeware. So this is a platform grid. It's an easy way to see which platforms support these audio workstations. As you can see, Audacity runs on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Pro Tools and Studio One run on Windows and Mac. Cakewalk runs on Windows, and GarageBand runs on a Mac. And just a note, Audacity, Cakewalk, and GarageBand are products unto themselves, whereas Pro Tools and Studio One are scaled down versions of their fully featured products. So basically they're giving you an opportunity to try before you buy. In this grid, we're looking at MIDI and plugin support. Now, a caveat on the plugin notations. In my research, I found that descriptions about VST and AU plugins were not always crystal clear. And as a matter of fact, there's actually two versions of VST, namely VST2 and VST3, and it wasn't always clear in the feature descriptions if both versions were supported. And sometimes for installation, you'll need some kind of extension, usually referred to as a wrapper or an add-on, and sometimes the plugin support may not be available across all versions of the product. So there's a number of things to consider when looking into plugin support. The notes in the grid reflect the best info I could find. Now, of course, audio workstations have different features and different user interfaces. So I wondered, if I start out using freeware, would that be sufficient for learning, the basics? Well, the thing is, whether it's freeware or purchased software, they all produce digital information, right? So as far as your PC or laptop is concerned, the incoming sound is really just another bit stream. And the effects being applied, whether by freeware or purchased software, are done for the most part by various algorithms. So, for example, here is a user interface for a compressor. And now, here's a bit of code from a compressor routine. So yeah, fundamentally, audio workstations are dealing with algorithms and how well those algorithms have been translated into computer code. So I concluded that, using freeware would be an okay way to learn basic concepts. All right, so let's take a look at the same information for purchase products. So here's the platform grid showing the 4 purchase products. Now, in this grid, you'll notice I added a column for networking. There is something called a link feature developed by Ableton. Bitwig and Reason make use of Ableton's link feature. And Pro Tools offers a cloud collaboration feature. Needless to say, I found lots of opinion and discussion about networking in audio workstations, and I'll just leave it at that. If you're interested in that kind of thing, you can find lots of information on websites, forums, and on YouTube. All right, so a lot of information on the MIDI and plugin grid. This grid shows all of the various versions of each of the products. There may be 2, 3, or even 4 versions to choose from. And for the cost, instead of showing each price point, I organized the cost into ranges. Under $125, between $150 and $200, between $200 and $500, between $500 and $600, and over $700. I use ranges because specific price points will tend to vary from time to time, right? Now, you may notice I labeled the cost column as initial investment. And this is because as time goes on, your audio workstation will offer upgrades, maybe free, maybe not. Needless to say, this was another topic for discussion in user forums, something you may want to look into before making a purchase. Side note on FL Studio, this was the only product I found that advertised free lifetime upgrades, so that may be something to check out. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at some of the versions. Avid offers 2 versions of Pro Tools in addition to their freeware version. And PreSonus offers 2 versions of Studio One in addition to their freeware version. There are 3 versions of Ableton Live. Now, there are 4 purchase options for FL Studio, but the thing is, there are really only 2 versions of the product. There is the Fruity version and the Producer version. Now, Signature is the Producer version with additional plugins, and All Plugins is also the Producer version with even more plugins than Signature. Reaper markets one version of their product with 2 licensing options. If you're an individual user, you can get Reaper at a discounted licensing fee, and I've seen it priced for around $60. So, as you can see, there's a number of different approaches being used to market digital audio workstations. Now, I'm currently in the market for a new DAW. My budget is between $200 and $500. I work on Windows and Mac platforms, and using these grids and internet research, here is where I landed. So my next step is to try them out, right? Reaper and Digital Performer have trial periods. Pro Tools and Studio One have their free versions. So, the fun begins. Now, I participate in various forums and Facebook groups, and very often, I mean, it's not unusual, someone will post, which DAW should I get? And it's understandable, right? It's so easy to be overwhelmed by the number of products and features you can find out in the marketplace. But the thing is, when it comes to selecting an audio workstation, it's not really something someone else can answer, right? Because it just depends on so many individual factors. For example, what is your level of interest? What is your skill level? What platforms are you going to run on? Are you going to record your own music? Are you going to record other musicians? Are you going to do voiceovers? Are you going to do all 3 of those? All these factors are going to play into which DAW is the right one for you. So give the matter some thought, right? Settle on a few candidates, check out their Facebook groups, user forums, FAQs, see what kind of vibe is going on in their user communities. So get some background and make a decision. Yeah, so be sure to check out the links below. I listed a bunch of websites I used for the information in this video. Also posted a link to an Excel, has all those tables. Feel free to download. And with that, please comment, like, subscribe. Yeah, and we'll see you next time.